In other lectures, we have considered a range of rational or process tools to help you facilitate species conservation planning processes. In this lecture, we begin an exploration of a range of interpersonal tools that you can also use and improve on to help you further in your facilitation practice.
We begin by looking at how assigning group roles and ground rules can provide you and the group with a helpful set of boundaries within which everyone within the group can feel safe to say what they think. To appreciate the value of adding these elements to the planning process, let's first take a look at the roles group members can have a tendency to play at different points in working together. There are three basic functions that consume a group's time and energy: task, interaction, and self-orientation. In any group, the time and energies of the members may be directed towards one or more of these functions. Task-oriented behavior is aimed at accomplishing the objectives of the group, developing goals, getting information, solving problems, etc. Interaction-oriented behavior concerns how the individuals within the group relate to each other, encouraging, expressing feelings, keeping communication open, or other unhelpful interactions such as talking over each other or being dismissive of others' views. Self-oriented behavior relates to how each individual behaves to consider their own separate needs and concerns, being assertive or aggressive over expressing their views, closing down and withdrawing from the group if they feel ignored, etc. A group not only needs these functions, but at the right time. When a football team is not working well, the coach makes an analysis of the different positions and makes changes. All functions and roles are coordinated. Sometimes in groups, members may serve roles or functions of which they are not aware. The extent to which these essential functions are fulfilled becomes evident through group observation. You may see that 2 to 3 people are attempting to fill all the roles. This keeps the other group members from assuming responsibility. They don't have the opportunity to develop or practice new roles or to utilize their existing skills. The activities of the individual members in relation to these three basic functions may be direct or indirect. In direct behavior, there is agreement between the apparent reason for a member's behavior and the real reason. For example, if a group member supports an idea simply because they think it is a good idea, they are engaging in direct behavior. Indirect behavior is motivated by a reason the member does not reveal to the group. Such hidden motives often are called hidden agendas because they are not on the open shared agenda for the group. For example, if an individual supports an idea as a way to gain favor with the person who is introducing the idea, then they are engaging in indirect behavior. Each group has its own characteristic way of performing the three basic functions: task, interaction, and self-orientation. In some groups, the primary direct activities are restricted to task-oriented functions. The members give direct attention to the interaction-oriented functions only if they are necessary to the task. For example, a certain amount of social behavior is allowed to enable members to get acquainted, providing that it doesn't go on too long. Personal issues or self-oriented behaviors tend to be discouraged. Other groups have norms that are more tolerant of interaction-oriented and self-oriented behavior. The self-orientation of the members may even be the primary focus of some groups, in which interaction issues are dealt with only to the extent that they do not interfere with the personal needs of the individual members. The group either has no task set or is so engaged in personal issues that the task receives no direct attention. When facilitating species conservation planning processes, you as the facilitator may need to help your particular group to move between group functions. sometimes considering how they're interacting or even addressing individual concerns, and encourage direct behaviours, all with the aim of improving the quality of the thinking done and the levels of acceptance achieved. Whilst individuals can default to helpful individual roles within groups, there are some common and less helpful roles that individuals play, which some ground rules can help to counter. Blocker and door closers interfere with the progress of groups by arguing, resisting, and disagreeing beyond reason. They can return to dead issues later. They can be aggressive to other group members when they disagree. Recognition seekers want everyone to know how important she or he is and how much he or she knows. Dominators or interrupters tend to hear the sound of their own voices and constantly interrupt others. Playboys flirt with everybody, mess around, and don't take the session seriously. Withdrawers remove themselves from discussion. They may daydream or do something else. They might whisper to others or leave the room. Special interest pleaders have a hidden agenda. Indications of this role include getting off the subject, leading the discussion in personally oriented directions, or turning a brief statement into a long, unclear speech. They may find it difficult to get past their personal agendas. Certain group behaviours will contribute to team productivity. There are also simple rules that make groups, task groups in particular, very effective. These rules are presented to the group and agreement with the rules is requested. Ground rules should be presented during the first meeting of the team. They may need to be revisited periodically. I found it helpful to go over the ground rules at the beginning of a meeting and to tell the participants that this is what I need from you in order to successfully facilitate this meeting. You can also ask for suggestions for additional ground rules from the group. If you decide to present the group with a set of ground rules, then it's worth checking that they can abide by them and if there is anything that they would like to add. It's key that the group can own the ground rules and feel that they are legitimate. If not, it's harder to encourage the group to stick to them. A facilitator can announce that she or he will be the enforcer, or the group may suggest one of the group members that plays this role, though this may be difficult as the discussion heats up. Never forget that the facilitator's role is to support the group to do its best thinking, make sure all group members are heard, keep purpose front and centre, and can call time out when necessary. In addition to the facilitator, group members can take on some constructive roles to help with the workshop process. The facilitator may also be the note taker, recording the group memory, although for new facilitators it might help to select someone else to perform this role. If you do, remember to keep an eye on the note taker. It is too easy for the person holding the pen to decide what they do and do not write up on the board. This unofficial editor role is not helpful as it provides a selective rather than representative view of the group memory. It can lead to certain group members withdrawing from the process, particularly if they feel their ideas or concerns are not being recorded and therefore not heard by the group. It is very helpful to assign the role of computer note taker to one of or more members of the group at the start of the session, as this ensures that responsibilities are assigned for recording the information in a way that can easily be incorporated into the final workshop report. Finally, if there are multiple groups within a workshop, it is common to build in plenary sessions when groups feedback to each other. To help this, assigning the role of presenter to one of your group members can ensure that they pay sufficient attention and perhaps record their own notes to allow a timely feedback at the end of the working group session. If you need to assign this role, make sure it is assigned at the start of the group work, so the individual is thinking about how they will present the information as the session continues, rather than rushing at the end to gather together some notes. Note that if you're undertaking the planning process online, you might need to identify additional roles, including having another facilitator who keeps an eye on whether people have put their virtual hands up or have written something into a chat box. In this environment, ensuring everyone has an equal opportunity to be heard can be particularly challenging. In summary, remember that interpersonal skills complement thinking tools, that they can be applied throughout the planning process. Remember that group functions around task, interaction, and self-orientation, and that facilitation can influence the function. There's a wide variety of reading you can turn to support you in developing your interpersonal skills as a facilitator. Here are just a few texts. I highly recommend you get a copy of Sam Kaner's book on the Facilitator's Guide to Participatory Decision Making, of which there are later versions, as it will become a regularly used resource for you as you plan your stakeholder workshops and meetings. I'd like to thank Dr. Susie Ellis, former Executive Director of the International Rhino Foundation, for many of the materials that form the basis of this talk.